Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Nicole Jansezian, your Jerusalem journalist, and I am thrilled to bring you news and insights from the Middle East. I am the news editor of two websites, All Israel News and All Arab News, and I'll have links to them below so you can check them out and get more information. Today, I'm going to be taking a question. I'm going to be attempting to answer one of the questions that one of my viewers left in the chat on a previous video, which was about the Israeli elections. So on November 1st, 2022, Israelis went to the polls for the fifth time in 3.5 years. And we've got a winner, we've got a potential prime minister, probably breaking the cycle of elections. And I did a video on that. I will definitely, go watch that to get background on that particular election. But one of the readers had a great question because we talked about voting patterns, who voted for what. And I think because of my personal connection to the situation, she asked a very interesting question. So Callie asks, how do the Armenians typically, who do the Armenians typically put their support behind? And do they have their own party? That is a great question, Callie. Why is that great? You want to know why that's a great question? Because it raises so many more questions. So first of all, I'm sure people who are listening to this are saying, but you just said the Israeli elections, so why aren't you asking who the Armenians vote for? So let's start with that question. So first of all, there is an Armenian community here in Israel. Ancient, from the year 301, Armenians have been here, possibly even before, but officially they started making pilgrimages from Armenia to Jerusalem in the year 301. And we'll unpack that in a separate video, but it's fascinating. So Armenians have been here and have had this continuous presence from that time. So another good question to ask is, okay, so that's why the Armenians are here and part of Israeli society. And the other really good question that this raises is, okay, but can the Armenians vote in this election? So that is brings up a lot of other issues. Some of the Armenians who are here are, yes, eligible to vote because they are or have become Israeli citizens. However, there are Armenians, many Armenians living in Jerusalem who are in a similar situation to many of the Arabs who live in Jerusalem who actually don't have Israeli citizenship. Yes, they were born here, but in Israel, you inherit your citizenship from your parents. And you don't just get the citizenship of the country in which you were born. So while previous generations have not opted yet or tried to get Israeli citizenship, there is an up and coming generation that is saying, okay, like we're here for several generations now. So a lot of people have been applying for citizenship. Now, this goes back to 1967. So up till 1967, from 1948 to 1967, Jerusalem, or half of Jerusalem, was under Jordanian control, and the other half was under the new state of Israel's control. So Jerusalem was a divided city. In 1967, after the Six-Day War, Israel then got control over the whole city. So at the time, there were many people that were living on what was the Jordanian side who suddenly were not in Jordan, but they didn't move. They were in the same spot, but suddenly it was another country. So those people, some of them did go and get Israeli citizenship and some didn't. And so a lot of, so eventually, like, it said, okay, this is going to stick. So, let's get citizenship. So there are some Armenians who cannot vote who aren't Israeli citizens, and there are some who now are. Now the question is, even how many Armenians are there here in Israel? And I have heard the number, I don't have this officially, but only 2,000, only 2,000. So, all right, I'm a very visual person. So I need to see this sometimes. So, okay, the population of Israel, let's say, I mean, this is really a crude but visual thing just to get an idea. Okay, let's say 9 million. Okay, of the 9 million Israelis, there are 20% are Arab. So I don't know, would that be like that? Would that be 20%? And of the 20% to 22% that are Arab, 2% are Christian. I don't know, is that accurate? And of the 2% who are Christian, 2,000 Armenians. So, I mean, in that small dot. So you're not talking about a significant voting bloc. And so they don't have much sway in the elections, and they don't have a party. And as far as I know, they've never had a representative in government. That could all change. I mean, I know a lot of the young people now who are active, they go to Israeli schools, they speak Hebrew like natives, and they are, getting involved in politics, and they are making their concerns known. So now, who do they vote for? So I will tell you that I did an article recently about who Christian Arabs vote for. Christian Arabs, again, the 2% of the population of Israel is Christian, and most of those Christians are Arab. And of most of those Arab, let's say 200,000 Christians, probably we estimate 95,000 can vote. And then, so I spoke with them. I spoke with quite a few, and I got quite a few answers about who they are voting for. And it ranges from the Arab parties. A lot of them vote for the Arab parties. And then a lot of them also vote for the liberal Israeli parties who have Arab Knesset members on their list, or Arab politicians who are trying to get into the Knesset. I also interviewed some that were the anomaly. Shadi Khaloul, for instance, he says, vote Likud, which is a right-wing Israeli party. And he ran for Knesset on the Israel Beitenu list. Israel Beitenu is like a right-wing secular party. So I thought that was amazing. Now, he is the anomaly, but he is also very active in bringing Christian interests before the state of Israel to make sure that the Christians, though they're only 2% of the population amongst a majority Jewish state and Muslims, he wants to make sure that Christians who've been here for generations have their representation as well in the government. So I would say that the Armenians would be somewhat aligning with how the Arabs are voting, which is a little bit of everything, but more so maybe with the Arab causes, because those are minority causes, not necessarily Christian, but at least the minority issues and pluralistic issues. So who would the Armenians vote for? Now, I did reach out to some Armenians for my article, but it ended up being just about Arab Christians because the Armenians didn't want to tell me, and they didn't want to be interviewed in this article, which is fascinating. And I think that points to the secret of Armenian survival here in Israel, in Jerusalem, is that they know how to coexist. And they do that by not taking a side and staying, in their lane of who they are. And there are so many fascinating things about the Armenian community that you have to learn more and see. And what have they maintained here in Jerusalem? It's amazing. They've maintained their language, they've maintained their culture. And here's another little secret: if you do go into the Armenian Quarter, which not many people ever do go into the Armenian Quarter, except Armenians that live here. But if you do go in, you will see two political clubs. And so you might say, oh, okay, so there's your answer, Callie, there's your answer. Which club, what party do they support? Well, these two political clubs have to do with the politics of Armenia, not Israel, not anything, not Palestinian, no, Armenia. So anyway, the Armenians are true to themselves, coexisting, and forging their own path here in Jerusalem. And they're here, they're still here. So anyway, Callie, that was maybe a cop-out answer because I didn't really tell you who they voted for because I don't really know, but I think trying to give a broad picture of what their interests are, which might point to their voting habits if they voted, and maybe there were, you know, maybe there's fewer than 1,000 eligible to vote. So not a big voting bloc in the state of Israel, but a very important and very historic community. Well, there's my answer, non-answer. As always, leave your comment below. If you have a question, I will try to answer it. If not, I'll write an article about it and research it and try to get the answer anyway. Leave your comments, leave your questions. Please like this video if you liked it and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.